We had, first on was Kaiser Chiefs, and then it was Block Party, and then there was another band, can't remember who they were, and then it was Razorlight. And it was, £5 to get in. It was really busy, but none of them at that point no one knew who was going to do well. But it's funny when you find this old flyer and you go, oh, look at that, that's pretty mad. Back in the old days, promoting or doing a record, you had certain things you'd do. You'd maybe put an advert, now you can just, if it's a show, we had Ed Harcourt doing New Year's Eve party here. And as soon as he announced it on Twitter that he was doing music, the tickets just sold. So then you get the point, you can do nice sort of show-off adverts if you want, sold out, that kind of thing. Or it just means there's just much better margins for a promoter, because a venue like this got a lot of running costs. It's not a pop-up venue, it's like a proper venue. And so it's really hard to, how you could put an advert in Time Out to have that it's £500 or whatever, and that would totally wipe out any chance of covering your costs. But stuff like Twitter and Facebook just have revolutionised it from that promotional point of view. I think what might be happening is probably at the grassroots level where we're at, I just think you have to be really creative and good at what you're doing to survive, because there's so much competition. And there's not really many subsidies for people, especially with pop-up venues coming up. And so, money is being made. Some agents seem to be making lots of money. If you go onto the agent websites and look at the rosters they've got, it's like, we've got AC/DC, it must be, the live site's doing well. And then publishing's doing well from all the different downloads and channels there are. It's just if you're doing physical product, you probably need to diversify a bit, I'd say.
Do you have to use different tools now? Like, give us a few examples of, say, how you'd use Twitter or Facebook.
I'm a complete Luddite with that stuff. I mean, the people in the office are great. I mean, it's a sort of, again, back in the old days, promoting or doing a record, you had certain things you do. And now it's a way of how, it's so sophisticated, how you harness that and how you use it, because you obviously don't want to spam people all the time. But I'm so old school. I'm in the cutting out flyers and all that. I'd still be doing that if it's up to me. But we have people that have graduated from university. All the people who work for us have got degrees in it, and they know exactly how to use it and when to use it. And it's just, again, it's hard to know how much it increases the walk up, because if a show the lineup is booked and it's a really good lineup, word of mouth alone will kind of bring people in. So it's always been hard to know how much difference an advert makes or that kind of thing, because if it's a good lineup, they'll come anyway.
Do you think it's like all that kind of stuff has given it a bit of a shot in the arm?
Yeah, it is.
Level.
Yeah, I think it's sort of everyone can do it now. In the old days, not everyone could be a promoter because there was only a finite amount of venues around. But now that any pub can be a venue, most pubs are turned into venues. Loads of promoters, so you can run a show quite cheaply if you want to. Everyone is wearing lots of different hats. I mean, you can kind of go to a gig and you realise, oh, wait, I'm the promoter, the manager, the label, and they're all slightly have different interests, so you've got to be really wary of that. But I think, at the grassroots, I think there's no commission for a manager if they're just being a manager, and for label there's not much in it. So you tend to find there's a group sort of waggy-tailed people that are willing to just work on the band. They get a bit of everything and try and then I think once it starts, if bigger labels come in or publishers, then it starts breaking down, roles come into play then. We sort of do 80 capacity, sometimes up to about 800, and it's quite a nice sort of place to be because the costs aren't too much. We've had bands play here, they might play to, 20 people, there's a bit of room. And then a few months down the line, you see they're headlining, XOYO or Zoyo, whatever it's called, and then 6 months down the line, they're Shepherd's Bush Empire. I just think, how on earth does that happen? It's just, I think, if the music's good, kids are sending it around, and that kind of, I think if you're good, you can go very quickly up through, because it's very democratic now. People can get on, see you, listen to you. Again, back in the day when I started, we used to get a cassette of a band, and the only people that would have heard the music would have been the promoter. the industry wouldn't have heard the music before seeing the band play. So they'd be ringing up going, "What's this band like? You've got a demo." And we'd say, "Oh, well, the manager doesn't want anyone to hear it. You've got to come to the gig." So the gig would be the unveiling of the band's music. It's the other way around now. I mean, the bands live or die by their music more. So in a way, it's a kind of a good development. The bands with a big audience are growing because their music's good.
Do you think it happens much more rapid because of that? You know, that you can spread it.
Yeah. It's so much more. Yeah, because it's in the old days it was pigeons and stamps and yeah, definitely. It's great, really. It's really good.
Do you think the majors are switched onto that, or
I've no idea. I don't know what they're doing with the major. I think it's just such a different world. I don't understand. I think they're more what the majors are good at. They're good at following the money, and they're good at spotting something that's doing well on the grassroots, and then we're the coal miners digging out the coal, and then they sell the coal for lots of money. And for every 100 that fail, they get a coal play or whatever that recoups the rest. So, and it's quite nice being independent because we can make it up as we go along, and we don't have to do, that's the nice side of it,
You feel a bit robbed because you put all the legwork in,
yeah.
Kind of, and it's like, yeah, we were there first, we put whatever on, and then, they get snapped.
I used to, but I've sort of found our niche now. I think we did try. I tried to do deals with some of the bigger companies, and then just always these contracts of, right, if we discover this band, we'll work with you on them, and then when they're playing Wembley, we'll share in the. But these contracts always went to business affairs and then got lost somewhere. We are making a living, but a lot of the money we would make doesn't really come out of ticket sales or record sales. That's almost like a sort of what happens is there'll be awards that'll happen for. There'll be PRS or Arts Council, that sort of stuff, or there might be a bit of consulting or a sponsorship comes. It's all those stuff that help. Something comes and it keeps you going for a bit longer. If you're just doing it on tickets alone and records, you'd really struggle. And of course, bar sales, if you can get the landlord to subsidise things. I'm giving away all our secrets now. But yeah, that's the way you can survive.
Do you think the future's healthy, or do you kind of, are we finding our feet, or?
Possible question to answer, but I think, I think amongst the doom and gloom, it's pretty healthy.
And you've got a nice merch board, and you've got to take your sort of list of email addresses, and you've got to take your little rubber bracelet, with your band website on that you give